Hi everybody, this is Jane from Willow Blue Vintage, and today I'm going to be showing you my rose journal. So the idea for making a rose journal came from looking out my studio window. It was mid-June and the roses outside were absolutely beautiful, and I thought I'd like to make a rose journal. And also I'd recently seen the cottage wallpaper bundle, which had got loads of beautiful kind of dusty looking roses, and I'd had my eye on that, so I thought making a rose journal was a great way to use those. So it's quite a simple cover, cardboard cover with two signatures stitched in and some antique silk over the spine, tied together with a piece of old sari silk. And then I've got a sort of bundle of loose bits on the front. This is a bit of old script paper. I don't actually know which bundle it came from because it's a piece that was in a sort of stash from previous projects, so I just liked the look of it and thought it would look nice with the rest of these things. A bit of leaf printed paper that I made, and there's some other bits of ephemera, an old letter there. A postcard that I've hand painted a rose on, bits of old book spine, and this is really pretty. It's an old music sheet that's printed on pink paper. I thought it just went with the kind of pink and green theme. And then the cover is one of the printables from the cottage wallpaper bundle. It's just sheets of this sort of rose wallpaper look. This one was printed on some newsprint paper, which has a slight grey tone, and so it just gives it this really kind of muted look. So inside I printed onto an old piece of music manuscript, this piece, Wonderful World of Love. I painted a very thin coat of gesso on it first so that the print would show up, and on the front and back cover I've got these rose prints. These are also from the cottage wallpaper bundle, and then I've added sort of paint onto them and painted up around them to make them look kind of hand painted. This page here is printed on rice paper, so it's got a really lovely texture, and it's one of the printables. I just looked, I used the filter on the printable section and looked for journal pages and found this one, which is gorgeous. It's got this butterfly vivarium and then this really nice tiny print. Apparently that's from sorry, that's just one of the printables. I didn't know which bundle that one came from. But because this was printed on rice paper, and I printed something on the back that had a yellowy tone, it's given it more of a green sort of tinge, whereas printed on white paper you get this blue colour, both of which are gorgeous. And then I've just put some old ledger paper, a bit of silk and an antique stamp that's made a tab, similar on the back. This is an old kind of wallet thing that I had that I've covered with some of the wallpaper print. Printed it onto tissue paper, made this little pocket, and this was a card just on the free section of the website. I put in roses and there's all sorts of different prints that came up, and so I printed this one out and then made this little kind of wallet with a wedding photograph. I've painted around it, and then I've just painted a nice rose bouquet there, so that just slides in there. This piece is a piece of rice paper that I did some eco dyeing. So this is a print of some rose leaves, and this is a piece of paper that I printed on a jelly plate with some leaves as a resist. Another piece of ledger paper. And then we've got a little tuck spot here with more ledger paper, silk and stamps, old book page from an encyclopedia, and it's the rose page from the encyclopedia. There's an antique postcard that I've put in there from 1926, a bit more ephemera. And then on the other side there's another piece of ephemera. It's an antique it's actually a Christmas card but with roses on it. So there's some antique bits. And then all of the pages are made from vintage papers. This one's got a bit of a rose, again from one of the Graphics Fairy images. Another piece of hand-printed rice paper there. And then another little wallet sort of thing that I've painted a rose on. And then a bit of vintage lace there, which has also been eco-dyed. And then this little card, I used quite a lot of these. So these are printables from the Roses and Bees bundle. And it's got two different sets of different designs, but both laid out in the same way, so you get the same number of different sizes. And the really clever thing is the Graphics Fairies have made a sheet of postcard backs with exactly the same layout. So I printed each of these twice, so one of those and two of those, and used these to make backs for each of those. So a really nice way to get lots of pieces to put into tuck spots and things. So here's one of them with one of the backs put on. Some more ledger paper with some silk stitched on. Another leaf print, ledger paper, leaf print. Some of the bits of ephemera there. This pale green receipt was from the Ephemera Romance bundle, and I've just made that into a little pocket. So here's another of those postcards, printables that I printed out, and again hand painted a little rose on the back. More ledger paper, lots of space in here for your journaling. And another little tuck spot there. Another of the beautiful postcards. This is one of the free part of the website. And that's a vintage cigarette card with some roses on it. Another of my leaf prints there. Bit of wallpaper. Another tuck spot with old letter, a postcard again with roses on, 1906 that one's from, and another of the postcards that again I've painted a rose onto, but they're really pretty. Some more bits of ledger paper, more ephemera there, one of the tiny postcards there behind, look, and a cigarette card. So this page is the other side of the printable that I showed you earlier. And then this page here is some of the cottage wallpaper. Stitched a bit of old embroidery onto it and a bit of silk attached to that. And then this is a print, another of the rose prints, which I think was, that was from the Victorian Rose Scraps bundle, and I've added some gesso and a bit of gold leaf there. And this is another of the printable journal pages. It's always worth having a look through. There's some absolutely beautiful ones. So this one has got, different layers of different pieces of ephemera. And again, I printed that onto newsprint paper, so it's got that kind of aged look. And then on the back, again, all sorts of bits of ephemera there, a bit more of that music manuscript, an old stamp, and another of the roses that I've painted. Another tab there made from some botanically dyed paper and silk and a stamp. And this was a kind of journaling card that I made, again with one of the prints from the Victorian Rose Scraps, printed onto tissue so that the music manuscript underneath shows through, a bit of gesso, some silk, all on a music manuscript sheet. I like these with the sort of irregular edges, and I found this really nice rusty old paper clip that's holding it in. Some more of the cottage wallpaper print there, leaf print, and some more of my hand painted roses. This one, the wallpaper was printed onto some old, it was an old fly sheet from a book, so it's a slightly yellow colour. It's really come out, but makes it look very authentically like wallpaper because it's slightly yellowed. And then I've stitched some silk on there. Got a little safety pin there with some beads and a tiny bell on it, and some stamps. Another of those printable postcards there, and I stuck a real stamp on the back. With a leaf print, and another sort of bundle of various different pages. So this is one of the postcards. Again, I've put a real stamp on there. This beautiful piece of braille paper that I've had in my stash for quite a while. It's stuck in with a piece of silk. Some more ledger paper, ledger, another pocket there. Again with a hand-painted rose on one of the postcards. And this folder's made out of some botanically dyed paper. Again, you can see a faint kind of leaf print there. With a bit of the cottage wallpaper there with some silk over the top of it. Creates a nice texture. And this is a really pretty leaf print that I did on the jelly plate with some jasmine. So here's a tag that I made. This one's got, again, cottage wallpaper and some script ephemera and a tea bag that I dried and painted a rose on and attached that. Some more ledger paper. And this was a sweet way to make a pocket. So it's one of the postcards that I've just stapled in and then folded back to create that sort of turn back. Again, I've put a real stamp on there. And there's a bit of a gardening magazine from 1958 in there. And another postcard that I made with one of the printables. So that was one of the free images from the free part of the website. More leaf print and ledger paper. Another vintage postcard with roses on it. 1917, that one. And another bit of pretty embroidery there with some silk. Another rose tea card, and the other side of that braille paper. Some leaves stuck on. And then another tuck spot made from some of the botanical paper with some seeds added on. And another of the postcards again where I've painted over one of the images. That's the other side of that piece of wallpaper that I printed. With a little bit of ephemera and some stamps. And then this was a good reason to never throw anything out, really. So at some point I must have cut out this rose image and saved the negative space. And I really like that put on there, so you can see the cutout of the rose with some silk added. And this was a bit of a book spine from an old book, again, that I've put different papers and some silk and one of the Victorian rose scraps printed on and stitched on there, hand stitched. And we've got a little kind of wallet here that folds out. Excuse me. So the image is part of the cottage wallpaper and it folds out, and there's various little bits that I've put in there. So a bit of note paper with a rose cut out and a rose cigarette card. They all just tuck into there. It folds back in. That's the reverse side of one of those journal pages, a printable journal page. Some more little bits and old stamps and silk. Another piece of the cottage wallpaper and the back cover. So as I say, printed onto some old music manuscript, and I've added paint on top of it. So I hope you enjoyed looking through that rose journal, and hope it inspires you to use some of those gorgeous bundles. Thanks very much.